believe we need to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone will stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody. First item for tonight, we are going to have the superintendent.
You all have a copy of my report. Do you have any questions?
I think.
Oh, thank you. I think the question I had was trying to make the math work for the numbers we heard 2 weeks ago and the list, and I think maybe it's positions that were combined, but I just wanted to understand that a little bit more, but that might be a follow-up.
More
By
follow-up
email,
with that,
yeah, okay. Yeah.
Any further questions? In which case, I think that's our only item in that section. So motion to approve.
It's really just personnel reports.
Yeah. Okay.
Personnel reports.
Then let's move on to adoption of the agenda for tonight, the business items. And since this is a closed session, there can be no additions to the agenda for the evening, just a reminder.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's move on to the solar project. We've had several discussions about this over the last few weeks. Tonight is the night where we actually have to lock down and make our final decision about whether or not we're going to move forward with the solar project. That will require some significant work. Or scenario 2, where we do not move forward with the solar project. It should be noted that Nathan provided us some additional information about the difficulties of going forward with the solar project. We do not have currently a way to connect to the power grid, and it is not clear from the city that that will be forthcoming at any point. So that really makes the entire thing very difficult. In fact, might actually be impossible to do it at that point. So, having said that, are there thoughts from the board members before we proceed to vote on adopting scenario 1 or scenario 2? Scenario 2 is the one that we would not proceed.
So there was no other room for the city?
There is not.
I've met with the mayor, everybody I can meet with. No openings.
Yeah.
They only have 2, is all they have, and both of those are under contract, so.
Right. I will admit to being over my head in terms of electrical engineering on those sorts of things, but I will take Mayor Fraley at his word that this is not something that's possible at this time. Having said that, I would bring forth scenario 2, where the district does not move forward with the project. We will adopt a resolution to redeem a portion of the outstanding bond funds. We'll create an escrow account to retire the amount of bond equal to the amount unspent. And then there will be a plan for paying off our portion of the debt over a long period of time. I bring forth scenario 2, do not proceed. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second. One of us.
Mr. Hackett seconds. There you go.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We will not proceed with the solar project. Second item on the agenda for tonight is an auditing proposal from Denise M. King, CPA, for the 2024-25 year at a cost of $20,000. It has been requested and recommended by Nathan Sweet and Dr. Hatchett. It is also just best practice to switch your auditors from time to time, and we have been using the same one for a significant period of time. and a little bit of internet sleuthing shows that Ms. Keene's firm has served many other districts in the state. So, do we have a motion to approve Mr. Sweet's request? All those in favor? Aye. Motion approved. And here's what I've been looking forward to. We have a motion to approve a donation account at the Community Trust Bank. This will allow the district to establish a donation account to accept financial contributions to support school programs, activities, and district's initiatives, many of which were talked about at a meeting last Tuesday, but draw a lot of community support. This will make it easier for people to transparently and securely manage those donations. I would like to recommend that we approve the creation of said account.
I have a question before that. Who is over that, will be over that account to make sure it's put to the right school programs, everything?
Good question. Nathan here this evening? There we are. Thanks, sir. Go.
You can use this one.
Testing, testing, yep.
So as far as managing the account, I think there needs to be more discussion on that because it really, it kind of depends on what the funds are going to be used for. If there's any school staff, parents, or students involved, then it can't be used for operational expenses. And would need to be there would need to be an outside organization established, a lot like a booster that you would have with sports. And the people associated couldn't also be associated with the school. If there are ties to the school in the efforts to raise the funds, then it becomes restricted to school activity, and that may be the intention, or to district activity. I can send you some more information on this, and I can make some more public too, so we can weigh options. Really, the approval is needed to take any further steps in that direction.
Okay, so we're not actually approving the account, we're approving stepping towards the account.
Yes,
Okay.
because if you're gonna raise funds in any way in the name of the school, it requires board approval prior.
I motion then for it.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is approved. And we have a similar request next for the JAG program, a JAG boosters system to generate donations in support of preserving the JAG program. This system will provide necessary funding to cover the remaining portion of both middle school and high school JAG salaries, which the school is currently unable to fund.
I motion for it.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion approved. Whoops.
Now, could Nathan go back and affirm that statement that money raised in this particular case will be used for?
Okay.
Yes, and the reason specifically this one needs a booster associated is because it will involve operational costs. So operational costs for a school district or anything that are required just to maintain its existence. So if we are looking to cover portions of salaries, then this one's we're gonna have to be very careful to keep all of the fundraising efforts separate of the school, or else those funds will be restricted and we won't be able to use them for any kind of operational expenses. It could only purchase you know, things like supplies and, you know, it could support trips, things that directly benefit students, but it could not support operational expenses.
And we do have names of people who, going back to who will be associated with this one.
Well, because of all of that, I have stayed completely separate of the process, because I feel like if I get involved, then we're kind of muddying that, so I'm just gonna stay completely separate of that one, so that it's very clear that it is a separate organization and we can proceed that way, because I know that's the goal, is to cover operational expenses. So outside of providing general guidance, and by that I mean like just pointing towards, kind of, you might want to read this to our staff that are involved in the program, I'm staying out of it for the benefit of the program.
So it's sort of like the football boosters.
Absolutely.
And there's
Yeah.
different rules, and unfortunately, those funds can be swept and this, that, and the other, but.
Thank you.
Will that also have a separate account for that booster, since it'll be a separate organization? Or-
Yes, and they would need a separate tax ID. It has to be like a completely separate entity with a very clear purpose.
Okay.
Separate audits too, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing, Nathan, as we move forward, we'll need, because I suspect we'll have athletic boosters, we got band boosters, we're now adding these other boosters, we'll need a system for just making sure we know where all of those are. I once set up a basketball boosters thing, which is now defunct, and I don't know that it ever really got closed out. We should probably talk about that. We'll do that at another time.
Yes.
I think we had approved the motion, so we can move on to the amended school calendar. In accordance with guidance from the Commissioner of Education's office and House Bill 241, the district has amended the 24-25 calendar to reflect an option of fewer than 170 instructional days while meeting the required 1,062 hours. The request to amend the calendar is being requested by Kyle French and recommended by Dr. Hatchett.
Can you speak a little more about the change, Mr. French?
Yeah, so the House Bill 241, which became law on March 26th, allows districts to waive the 170-day instructional days requirement as long as they have 1,062 hours. Our current calendar, and most districts would have to add time at the end of the day or the beginning of the day to do that, but our current calendar has us well above that already. So we can just shave off a few days and be able to get out of school on the 22nd of May instead of the 28th, which equates to 3 instructional days being taken off the end of the calendar. And those days would still, people on a 187-day contract would still be paid as a 187-day contract, even though 3 days were taken off. That's all part of that law. And then another benefit for our district is that we will be able to use 10 low attendance days that would be waived instead of 5. So that's a big plus for us as well.
And it coincides with graduation, right?
Graduation is on the 23rd.
Right.
Yep.
So we wouldn't have any more school days after the graduation.
Right. There is one staff work day after graduation, but no student days after graduation.
Okay. Because again, we had amended before, just in case we needed to extend the school day. Now we can go back to original schedule. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
like I said at the previous meeting that I'd be seeing you again. That the 28th was probably not going to work after the law passed that we would be able to change it. So, here I am.
Well, I thank you for your hard work and dedication towards this. So I motion.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I speak to those?
Sure. moving on to the next item on the agenda, superintendent discussion. We are considering an investigation into the superintendent's management of the school district, which has been requested by me and numerous other members of the community. Board members, you should have received a copy of the agreement that we have reached with Dr. Hatchett and her attorney. It would allow us to put her on paid administrative leave while we investigate what happened to our district's finances over the last several years and several other issues related to that. Are there questions about the document that you were provided?
Yes. Okay, yeah.
It was just work, there we go. Okay, so the part about the unpaid or unpaid leave, yes. Do we talk about that in closed session or
No,
no? Okay,
there is no discipline at this point, there's been no investigation.
okay,
And the purpose of doing this is so that we could, in the future, make a case for a dismissal with cause.
okay,
But we have to do these steps.
okay. So in order to do the steps first, you have to do the
There
one
has
that's
to be
paid
an
leave.
investigation. That investigation then has to be presented to the department, and the commissioner then has 30 days to make a ruling on it.
Right, but does it have to, is it also required to have it to be paid leave?
Yes, you can. Yeah, there's no way
Okay.
around that.
That was one question I had about that one.
Wait, I didn't hear the last part of what you were saying.
Oh, does it have to be the paid leave part? I heard the rest of the process, but they're saying it has to be the paid leave part for a
Superintendent's
process.
contracts are different, and
Yep.
there's a lot of protection to it in state law.
There it is.
Okay,
So it's a good motion on each of these.
So, further questions on the agreement that you were provided? If not, do we approve the agreement with Diane Hatch and the Board of Education to investigate her management of the district while she goes on paid administrative leave?
So moved.
second,
Do we
Hold on.
know, yeah, one more question. Do we know what her lawyer says about?
He has agreed, they
I
have signed.
been in contact with him.
Yes.
We had a conversation with ladies this morning,
Okay,
and
thank,
I went over with her, and she signed a contract there with me
mhm,
today.
Yes.
okay, thank you.
We had a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion approved. And just so I don't lose this. Yep. So one of the interesting things is you can't have a district without a superintendent. So our next discussion is appointment of an acting superintendent. I should say a few things, I think, at this point about it. We have been in negotiations or discussions with someone. His name is Elmer Thomas. Many of you are familiar with him. He has a great reputation across the state of Kentucky for being an excellent superintendent, and as he's retired, he has been working with other districts who have encountered similar difficulties. So I have asked the board to consider appointing Elmer Thomas as an interim superintendent. I want to acknowledge in asking for that, there are costs associated with this. He will be paid a daily rate as a superintendent, but he is well positioned to do an investigation. He has the experience necessary for that. That does not mean there are not several internal candidates who could not be an interim superintendent. They could. Some of them, though, are also candidates for the long-term superintendent position. So I think it's best that we not muddy those waters if that's at all possible. I also think Elmer provides an excellent external candidate, which brings capacity into the district. We have some new people in positions, particularly around finance, who could use some guidance and help in understanding the complexities of what's happened in the past. I think it will also, and no offense to my good colleague, Ms. Combs over here, who's been wonderful in supporting me over the last week, having an experienced interim superintendent will reduce my reliance on her. Her email has been blown up quite a bit recently. Last but not least, I think by bringing in someone who has experience, who knows how to rebuild a district, who knows how to create good communication and open communication, the board will benefit. We will learn how to be better in relationship with our next superintendent. And for all of those reasons, I'd like to create a solid foundation for whoever takes the job in July or earlier. So, board members, any questions about the interim superintendent contract? Acting. Thank you.
Yes, that was one of my questions, acting or interim. Second is, what will be the main duties? Because, or are you saying the main duty will be an investigation, or the main duties will be, as acting superintendent, carrying out the variety of duties that the superintendent needs at the end of the term to do?
It is both. So it will be both conducting an investigation and leading the district in that time period.
How will we know?
We're going to be in contact. I think one of the things that has to change about the board's relationship with the superintendent and with the principals is more frequent meetings with those folks. So I hope that as we are moving forward, we are providing regular reports to the public about what we are discovering in this investigation.
Thank you.
Further questions? Comments?
I had a question.
Sure.
Regarding the term, right now we're talking about going until June 30th, which is of course when we were looking at the new superintendent. There's an argument to be made that makes sense. There's another argument to be made that an experienced superintendent coming in and doing a deep assessment takes some time and maybe prepares the way for a new superintendent who would be excellent but maybe doesn't also have as much experience. So I'm wondering, is there a point at which we discuss the term or rediscuss the term potentially? And it might be tied to the superintendent search, so I'm not sure about that timing. And I realize that would be untraditional to go from the June 30th to July 1 to stray from that, but.
Done before.
I think it is possible. It is my deep hope that the superintendent search, which we are going to go into closed session in a few minutes to discuss, will just put us in the right place. If it doesn't feel like that, I think that should be something that in those meetings with principals and teachers in the school, how has this gone? How do we feel about the person who is incoming? And I think that would be a decision we would want to get public feedback on first.
And also, it can go, but I know Ms. Fields is gonna tell you certain times of year are better for hiring superintendent candidates than others.
Certainly.
Yeah, and then if we move to, keeping somebody else as in, that would move to interim once the current superintendent's contract's gone.
Okay.
We just changed the title.
That's helpful, thank you.
And he's okay with going to the end of the 30th, August.
Okay.
I've already talked to him about it. He said they can always renew it. Or can always come back and renew that anytime they want to.
In the interest of transparency, what is the statement about the amount of money that will be involved?
Yeah. So a daily rate for a superintendent with that experience is $568. Current.
It could raise a little bit.
Hearing no further questions, do I have a motion to approve?
Well, you mentioned that there were possibilities, excuse me, possibility of other people being interim, not the ones who are running for office, applying for office, but some of the others. How much discussion might that need to have?
The only thing about that would be some of it's closed and some of it's not. You have to have a process to close, so it can't, the whole process can't be discussed, it has to be individual.
I think if you want to go that way, you would have to vote against the motion.
can't do that tonight because it's not on the agenda unless you know that.
So, do I have a motion to approve?
I move.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
I'll abstain.
One abstention. All
And
right.
may I clarify that?
You may, absolutely.
In terms of the extension, part of the discussion is about the money that we're spending, and at the rate of $568 a day for an interim. Could there be some other interim candidate? But if we don't have time, and we don't have time to explore that, but that is the basis of my extension.
It's only bound you till June 30th.
All right. I believe it is now time for us to go into closed session, so I need a motion for that. No, it's okay.
Read that.
Yep.
Forgot to write that for you earlier. They're very picky about it.
All right. Okay. Do I have a motion to enter an executive session under KRS 61.810 to, for the purpose of hiring a new superintendent and reviewing and discussing applications and setting interview dates?
I motion.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's go to session, closed session.